Module 3, The Future, and Stage Rebuilding 11, Trust. If you say you can't trust a man or a woman in a relationship, then you're saying more about yourself than about that man or that woman. Many relationships at this stage are attempts to heal wounds, and many are transitional or short-term. So at this stage, by building a basic level of trust within yourself, you can experience satisfying, emotionally closer and intimate relationships. I was doing fine and enjoying myself. Then he said, "I love you." I panicked and told him to get up, put on his clothes and go home, as Anne said in one of our seminars. At this stage in the recovery process, you may see people walk a distance from their potential partners. They're like a wild animal that come close, hoping to get some food, yet run for cover the minute you move towards them. These people talk about relationships a great deal of the time, and they seem to want to date and to be with potential partners. But as soon as someone makes a move towards them, they run and shout, "Stay away." They are still severely wounded by love. The idea for some that another relationship will prove that they're okay leads many people to start immediately to find a new one. The ending of a relationship process can be viewed in two major steps. The first is learning to be a single person again, ready to face life alone with the rubble of the past cleared away. The second step is learning to love again after you've rebuilt your strength to carry the burden of a long-term committed relationship. So, if you complete the first step, then step 2 will be easier. Here is an exercise that I have carried out at this stage within the seminars groups for over 20 years, and it is derived from the work of family therapist Virginia Satir, which she terms body sculpting. I divide the groups into pairs, but you might like to do this with a good friend. The diagrams illustrate different body positions which you need to look at from the website, which show various types of relationships that people have with each other. Let's look at the body sculptures and consider the feelings beneath each of these styles of relating. The first one is the A-frame dependency relationship. In the dependency relationship, two people lean on each other. Dependency upon another person feels good, but it is somewhat confining. When one person wants to move, change, or grow, it upsets the other who's leaning on them. Try this sculpture with another person, and then put into words some of the feelings that you have while you're assuming this particular position. The second one is the smothering relationship. Here is a position quite frequently seen in teenage-type relationships. The vocabulary of this relationship is, "I can't live without you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I will devote myself completely to make you happy. It feels so good to be close to you." Many lovers start out by smothering, then gradually the stranglehold on each other becomes stronger and doesn't allow more room for growth. This smothering pattern may be particularly significant after the honeymoon stage of new love. The smothering relationship feels good for a while, but eventually the partners begin to feel trapped. The third one is the pedestal relationship. This worshipful relationship says, "I love you not for who you are, but for who I think you are. I have an idealized image of you, and I'd like you to live up to that image." It is a very precarious position to be on the top of the pedestal, because there are so many expectations for you to live up to. You can see the problems of communication here. In love with the person's idealized image, the worshipper is looking up and trying to communicate with that image instead of the real person. There is a great deal of emotional distancing inherent in this relationship, and it's difficult for the two people to become close. This fourth one isn't for you to actually model, but rather observe, and it's called the master-slave relationship. The master acts and is treated according to these ideas. I'm the head of the family, I'm the boss. I make the decisions around here. Do not assume that this relationship necessarily places males as the boss, as the head of the family. there are females who are masters, making all the decisions for their families. In most relationships, one of the partners has a personality which at least is a little stronger than the other, and that's not necessarily bad. It's when the relationship becomes rigid and inflexible, and one person is set up to make virtually all of the decisions, emotional distancing and inequality start to take place. Maintaining one person as a master and the other as the slave tends to create a great deal of emotional energy being used up, and often results in a power struggle that interferes with communication and intimacy. The fifth one is the boarding house, or the back-to-back relationship. Here in this image you see the two people are linked by their elbows. These two have some sort of contact or agreement that they're going to live together. There's no communication in this relationship. The typical thing is for people to come home, sit down and watch TV whilst they're eating, then retire to their own living rooms for the remainder of the evening. There's no expression of love towards each other. And notice, as you try this position, that when one person moves forward and changes, i.e. grows and matures, the other person is linked to that change. Back to back is a very confining relationship. Many people recognize this as the pattern that existed perhaps just before their relationship ended. This one's, again, an image to look at rather than to physically model out, and it's the sixth one, the martyr relationship. Here is the person who completely sacrifices by trying to serve others. Always doing things for other people, never taking time for self, the martyr goes about hands on knees. But do not let the lowly posture fool you. The martyr position is very, very controlling. Note that when the person on hands and knees moves, the other person who has a foot on the martyr is thrown off balance. How does the martyr gain control? You guessed it, through guilt. How can you be angry at the person who is doing everything for you, who is taking care of you completely? The martyr is very efficient at controlling people, and it's very difficult to live with a martyr because you feel too guilty to express your own needs and angry feelings. Perhaps you had a martyr parent and can recognize ways of dealing with that parent by understanding the martyr relationship. Number 7 is the healthy love relationship. Two people who are whole and complete have happiness within themselves, standing upright, not leaning on or tangled up with the other person. They're able to live their own lives. They have an abundance of life to share with that other person. They choose to stay together because they're free to be individuals who are sharing their lives together. They can come close together and choose the smothering position temporarily, or they can walk hand in hand, as they might do in parenting their children. Then they can move apart and have their own careers, their own lives, and their own friends. You see, their choice to stay together is out of love for each other, rather than needing to stay together because of some unmet emotional needs. The healthy love relationship gives both people the space to grow and therefore become themselves as they move through their life.